Ashley Jones from Marketing Showcase. Hope you're doing well. Thanks for checking into one of our recordings from January's online event. For this webinar, I was joined by Andy Lambert, who's one of the founders and he's the Director of Growth at ContentCal. And he's using this session to talk to us about your 2021 content plans and how you can nail those. It's a great talk. It's about 30 minutes in length, so feel free to grab a coffee, relax and enjoy.
Perfect. All right. Thank you. And thank you so much for taking the time this morning. I really appreciate it. So let's dive in because we have a lot to cover in the course of 20 or so minutes. So let's dive in. How to nail your 2021 content marketing strategy. Ash has already done a great intro, so that's great. But just so you know, a bit of background, we used to be a content marketing agency building content plans for other people. And about 5 years ago, we decided in our infinite wisdom to launch a software company called ContentCal, creatively enough. And yeah, in the last 4 years, as you can probably tell from my accent, we're UK based. In the last 4 years, we're now used by about 30,000 businesses in 140 countries. And it's been grown through content marketing. So our kind of practices in content marketing have been hard won. And in the next 20 minutes, I'm going to teach you as much as I possibly can about how you can build the perfect content strategy for 2021. 3 things we're going to cover, and you'll notice I speak quite quickly. The slides will be made available for you if there's anything you miss. We're going to look at where content fits in our marketing mix. Often marketers get sometimes a little bit confused as to where content marketing actually fits and the purpose it plays in our marketing mix. So we're going to clarify that. Then move into what does a good content marketing strategy look like? And at this point, I'm going to be introducing you to the 6-step framework that we both teach and we live ourselves to help build the perfect strategy. And of course, this should be a really actionable talk. So I'll be sharing with you 6 free tools to bring this to life as well, which is always everyone's favorite bit because everyone loves some new tools and tech. So let's start with this. We are all in a dramatically and very quickly changing landscape. And this was some data out from Visa. This is global data where 1 in 4 purchases are influenced through social media. Now, this talk covers content marketing in general, but clearly social is always going to be a big channel of that. And when we talk about the growth of social, in the last year, we've seen a 12% growth of social. And just in the last month, that meant 450,000 new users added across all social platforms. The growth of it is insane. It's now 3.5 billion people across the world that are now active on social. Unbelievable power of communication. But let's kind of really level set where content marketing needs to fit in our content marketing strategy. This is some data that came out from LinkedIn, and I loved it, so I wanted to share it with you. So LinkedIn have the privilege of managing so many marketers' marketing budgets. And what LinkedIn's contention was is that they started to see too much of a marketing budget shift towards what we see in this blue box here, short-term activation-oriented marketing. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that this is not an important part of a strategy. But your short-term activation is all about like the ads that you might run, your conversion-orientated objectives might be ads you run on social or PPC or display ads, things that are designed to drive an immediate result. And that's always good and you'll see peaks and troughs. However, when we start to think about or shift too much of our effort towards short-term activation-orientated content, that sometimes can be at the detriment to what really matters over the long term, which is our brand building content. And that really is the heartland of our content marketing, how a brand builds over time. So if we zoom in on this a little bit, your 2 types of marketing we're thinking about here. So your activation is about marketing to the people that are in market today, the people that want to buy your product today. We market them through rational messages. You should buy us because we're XYZ reason. We target it to a narrower base and we define success through sales metrics, be it conversions, clicks, cost per acquisitions, that kind of stuff. And it's because it's so easy to KPI this kind of stuff is the reason that we've seen so much of a marketing budget shift towards that. But we've already seen sometimes the damage that can do if you neglect your brand building activity, your content marketing activity. And of course, the critical part of content marketing, if we shift our eyes to the right-hand side of this slide, is about marketing to out-of-market buyers. Whilst that might seem counterintuitive, actually, our job through content marketing is to get new eyes on our content, to raise awareness, build trust in our brand. And we do that through emotional connection. So our emotional messages, which is about why we do what we do, our purpose, our mission, our values, our beliefs. And it's about targeting a broader base. And we're going to talk about how we target and how we get these messages out. But fundamentally, this isn't rocket science. This is a core human emotion that's driving this. And it's the feeling of trust. Trust is the fundamental emotion that drives affinity with a brand. So ultimately, it's the creation of a brand. It's the kind of cornerstone that sits underneath that. And also, it's the main emotion that drives purchasing behavior. So our job, quite simply through content marketing, is to help people know, like, and trust us. In order to do that, let's look at the marketing funnel. So let's start making this session a bit more practical now. So that's the fluffy bit done. So this is the practical bit. Everyone will have seen a marketing funnel. It's an oversimplified way of looking at the world, but it's always quite good to frame things. So we're only considering the top 2 tiers of this funnel as part of our content marketing activity. Awareness, getting more and more people to view and see our content. And our job is to stretch that top of the funnel as wide as it will go. And that is what we're going to cover in this kind of strategy session here. And also to help people, more rationally consider us against alternatives once they've come to know that we exist. So if we zoom in on this funnel, we're going to zoom in on the top 2 elements of this funnel, because that is really where our focus is. So the top 2 quadrants here relate to awareness. And as you can see, this is all governed by an emotional reaction. We can entertain people through quizzes, giveaways, and games, and inspire people through like endorsements and reviews and influencers. But I'm going to call out influencers quickly. Whilst I say the word influencers, it means a broad spectrum of things. I'm not suggesting everyone needs to go out and work with Kylie Jenner. I'm suggesting that actually within everyone's space on market, there is a load of individuals that share a common mission, purpose, and values to you that you can work together to collaborate. And honestly, this has been the thing that has driven our growth within ContentCal and will be a significant growth lever for you to pull into 2021. How you can work with others to get your content appearing in other feeds that you don't own. It's those channels that you don't own that hold huge amounts of power that help you really stretch that awareness part at the top of the funnel as wide as possible. We're going to pick up on that point a bit later on. Now, going down to the bottom bit of this quadrant, it's all about the rational orientated reaction. As we see here, we're in the consideration stage. I'm not going to cover the convincing bit on the bottom right. I'm going to cover the bit on the left, which is a really critical trust building stage, which is about education. It's our job when we're doing content marketing, not just to help people know, like, and trust us, like we've just been talking about, but also really to help the people, our target audience, get better at something or learn something new. It's our job to serve our potential audience. We can do that through podcasts, trend reports, research, guides, ultimately things that will educate and empower the people that we're trying to work with. Now, we can't educate people unless we know exactly who we're trying to serve. So at this point, here's the buyer persona. I'm not going to talk through this. This is ContentCal's one. And like I said, I'll share these slides with you. The more you can know about who you're trying to serve, the better your content will be. And I think the fundamental bit of guidance I would offer here is the more focused you can be on a singular persona. I know it's not always possible depending on the business, but the more focused you can be, the better your content will be as a result. Now, a lot of people often miss. Before we create a strategy, we need to be very clear on something. What do we want to be known for? Content marketing has an unbelievable ability to humanize a brand and connect at an emotional level. And many businesses are not leveraging this power. 2 businesses that are fantastic examples: Patagonia, the clothing brand, they talk a lot about like the circular economy and sustainability. And as such, they've become the first brand that has now started to sell secondhand clothes in their stores. They are living their values. And there's a lot of research that emphasizes how you can influence people that have people buy from you just because they share the same values as a business. That is a critical point. Same with in the UK, like Brewdog, James, the CEO, the amount he's planting trees, and just everything talks about with sustainability, living their values. And they're very clear what they want to be known for. And they've used social media as a platform for that. So we need to really think about this as we go into the research. So here is the content strategy. These are the 6 C's we're going to go through, and we're going to build a strategy in the next 10 minutes. So a bit of a challenge in its own right. So 6 steps I'm going to take you through, and I'm also going to show 6 free tools that you can use to bring this to life. These are ones that I personally used. Obviously, one of them I've been part of building, but ultimately you don't have to use these tools. These are just ones that I personally like. So it all starts with getting inside the head of our customer, because we can't do content marketing till we know exactly who we're trying to serve. this is where we bring in the first tool, which is called keywordstrategytool.com, entirely free. It doesn't look that good, but there is a whole heap of value in it. So I think you'll love it. So what we're going to do, we're going to pretend that we are a local coffee shop. We have no following at the moment, and we want to create a strategy from scratch. So what we're going to do is just search the word coffee here. We can search on Google and YouTube, but I'm just going to search Google now. Look in the UK, search the word coffee, and it pulls back nearly 900 search terms that are coming back from people searching coffee. So whilst no one's going to have the time to look through nearly 900 keywords, we want to click in the top left, which gives us our search volume. Sorry for the screenshot, told you the tool wasn't a looker, but there's a whole heap of value. So the first search term, the thing that has the biggest volume, is coffee shop. Whilst that doesn't actually tell us anything interesting in terms of new content we could create, if you look at the search volume on a month-by-month basis, you'll see some interesting seasonality. People are really searching for coffee shop big time in January, probably not this January, but in January, and it really diminishes the search volume in September, in the middle of the year rather. So that's fascinating and fantastic insight for us to phase our campaigns around. But even more interestingly, when we're looking at this, my eyes are taken to search number 2 and number 4, which is coffee near me and coffee shops near me, with a combined search volume of nearly 3 million monthly searches. What that's telling me here is that actually where it's based, the location of the coffee shop, is nearly as important to our customers as the fact it's a coffee shop in its own right. So location could absolutely be the first one of our content themes. We're going to say this word a few times. Content themes are a critical part to build in your content strategy because they help orientate your content plan around topics that we know that your audience has interested in. So location could be one of those. And it also opens up a whole new avenue of content. If we're starting to think about location, we could be talking about things to see in our local area, like walks to do with the family, places to walk your dog, whatever it might be. But ultimately, this helps. We're now in the heads of our customer. We can now start to see what's kind of driving their search behavior, which fundamentally will help us create content to serve that. Second part of understanding our customer is to look at the market. We're going to bring at the second tool here, and we're going to bring in Awario. So awario.com. And what we're going to do here is search a really important metric that far too little people really understand and use. And that metric is called share of voice. Share of voice relates to how often your brand is mentioned across all of the web in comparison to your competitors. And Awario is amazing for that. So what we're going to do is we search ContentCal here because we had to use real data and look at the share of voice. And we can start to see how we rank against our competitors. Real good benchmarking activity to go, right, well, this is how big the market, this is how much we're growing. There's so much more to get. So this is great. Whilst this is good benchmark, as we scroll down, we can start to see what we can do with that. We can see where our competitors are really strong on particular platforms. And importantly, we can see where they're weak, like Instagram and YouTube in this instance. So this helps inform our channel strategy. And as we scroll down, we can also see if we have followers already today, who are our most influential followers. And this goes back to that influencer point I mentioned earlier, where if you look at the combined following of these 3 individuals that follow ContentCal, they have a combined following of nearly 320,000. Whereas us at ContentCal on our own Twitter channel, we've got about 3.2 thousand. So 3 of our followers have 100 times the reach that we have. Goes to show the power of working with others, doing like a guest webinar like we're doing now, or doing like a podcast or a guest blog or whatever, finding ways you can work with other influential folk in your industry, not necessarily paying them, but finding ways you can collaborate through content will then encourage those people to share you and for you to get in other people's feeds, which generates more share of voice, which generates more awareness, and that top of the funnel gets wider as a result. So let's go into context. So we've understood our customer. Now we want to start understanding the content that they're going to be interested in. We go back to keyword strategy tool, and here is our kind of 900 keywords we searched earlier. And all we're trying to do here, and this is the focus on the education bit, we want to filter out these keywords by the question prepositions of can, which, when, where, how. We're going to search all of those. As you can see, I've searched can, and it's going to then bring up all of the questions that are being asked. So this is really going to help us serve around the educational piece that we were talking about earlier. And then we just look at the search volume. And now we can start to understand all of the questions that are being asked in and around coffee and the frequency that they're asked, organized in search volume. This is basically a priority list of all of the content we need to create throughout all of 2021. So clearly how-tos are very, very popular. So that's clearly going to be another one of our content themes. So it's now, we've got location, we've got how-tos. And as we scroll down, we can see lots of health and wellness orientated questions. So clearly that's going to be another theme as well. Carry on reading, we'd find some other themes, but ultimately here, we've really got some great context for our customer. And what we're going to do is press the export button, and we're just going to take all of those questions and lift them and put them into ContentCal, which is the third tool here. This is a tool we're going to use to organize all of this research and strategy together. So we've got all of our content ideas pinned to the top. So we're never going to run out of ideas throughout the course of the year again. Now, we need to use hashtags wisely to make sure that our content is going to reach the maximum amount of people. Best free hashtag tool I know is besthashtags.com. Search the word coffee, pull in all of the most popular and most liked hashtags, both for Instagram, and on the right-hand side, you can see Twitter and Facebook. Simply press the copy button, and then we're going to paste them as a snippet in ContentCal. Snippets are really powerful because it allows you to take the content that you've researched and then implement that research really easily. So with a snippet, you can just press the button once and it's always going to just bring in that group of hashtags. So you know you're always using the right hashtags. Done the same for Twitter, and done the same for some people we want to mention that we found from Awario earlier. And here I've been speaking about content themes, but we're going to color code them, and we call them category tags. So that allows us to build our content plan around these color coded themes of health and wellness, sustainability, how-tos, whatever we've done in our research, we want to build our content plan around those. Fifth tool, daysoftheyear.com. Every week there's a new national day for something. Days of the Year allows you to browse the calendar, look at the associated national day and its associated hashtag, bring those into ContentCal, which will mean that you'll never miss an opportunity. So if a national day looks relevant, so you can create content well in advance using the right hashtag to give you reach outside of your core audience. Now, with the kind of research done, we now go into creativity. Now, just a quick tip for creativity here, because I haven't got long to talk about it. So a little tool within ContentCal, which is free, download ContentCal for Chrome, just search ContentCal for Chrome. And this is the thing that we call the web clipper. So if you're browsing the web and you find anything interesting, you don't want to create content in a moment and distract you from what you're doing on a day-to-day. Find something interesting, press that little button, press add to library, and it pins it to your content hub. So really now what we've got when we're coming to create the content for the week, we've got all of our ideas we've taken from Keyword Strategy Tool. We've got all of our content themes and the color codes that we've been talking about. And now we've got the inspiration that we saved using Google Chrome. And now what we've got is everything to really fuel our creativity. You wouldn't believe the impact that has to speed up the content creation process when you've got all of that inspiration. Creativity is also fostered through collaboration and how you work together. Two elements of collaboration. Firstly, internal. This is a tool that actually we built really recently because our customers asked for it. It's a way to collect ideas across a business, even if people don't have a ContentCal account. So this allows everyone to go ahead and throw in any interesting idea or inspiration and for you to collect that again in your content hub. So now not only do we have the stuff that we saved using Google Chrome, we've also got things that the rest of your team and colleagues have shared with you. So the best content is always created together. So this really kind of helps facilitate that. And the second part of collaboration is something that I've been touching on throughout all of this, which is finding others you can work with to help get your content in other feeds. Hype Auditor is the sixth and final tool I wanted to share with you, because this now allows you to search the word coffee as I've done here and look at the people across Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. Look at the people that have the best audience quality score, which is shown here, and the right amount of followers. Definitely don't go after people with 224 million followers. Look at people between 1 to 10,000. They'll be fantastic ones that have a great engaged audience, perfect to collaborate with. So now for the final 2 minutes, let's bring it all together. We've got our content ideas we've taken from Keyword Strategy Tool. We've got our national days that we've taken from daysoftheyear.com. We're going to go into our content hub where we've saved any articles using that Google Chrome extension, and other members of our team have also contributed ideas. Let's say we're going to use this idea. We're going to press use content. We can pin this across our social channels, but also you can put this on blogs and emails, etc. Here, what we're going to do is click on these snippets so we can bring in those hashtags we saved earlier, and also the people. So remember, we saved those hashtags from besthashtags.com. Also, people we want to mention, because we've seen some of those influencers from Awario or Hype Auditor, so we can kind of bring those in. And because one of our content themes we know about is this health and wellness one, we think that's going to be good from our research. We're just going to tag it as that. We add the post. Now we've built our content plan all organized around these content themes. I would typically just run one content theme per day, which will really help you analyze results. So as you can see, we've got 5 different content themes, or topics, if you want to call them that. And that's what we're running with. ContentCal will automatically publish all of that content. And that takes us to the sixth and final step. So at the end of the week or the month, we can understand, has our audience grown? Has our engagement increased? But importantly, if I direct your attention to the right-hand side of the screen, we can now start filtering our content based on these content themes and topics. So we can start to see, actually, did health and wellness perform better than how-tos? Did sustainability perform better than location-oriented content? And as we scroll down, we can not only just see the engagement and how those different topics have impacted our engagement, which is likes, shares, and comments, but also individually at a post level, what worked the best, so that we can continue learning for next week or next month, whatever cycle you're working to. You can start to go, right, well, this particular theme worked well for me. Let's say health and wellness worked particularly well. And we can just use that kind of reuse post button on the right-hand side, which now allows us to take that content and add it into next week. Whilst I don't advocate you putting out the same thing again and again, it adds it to your content plan as a draft, denoted by this little blue line at the top, because this allows you now to create a bit of a framework of a content plan for next week or next month, using the things and the topics that worked really well from the week or the month previous. Ultimately, the idea of this, it's a circle, because consistency breeds momentum, and it gets easier and easier the more you go around. The heaviest lift stuff is at the start, the customer and context bit. So the research stuff we covered at the start is the bit where it requires a bit of research, an hour or so looking into keyword strategy tool and really thinking about those topics, and then kind of executing on that and continually tweaking as results. Encourage you to do so. Wow. All right. I was 1 minute over. So there we go. That was a whistle-stop tour of how to build a content strategy. I do lots of these kind of one-on-one sessions as well. I do these for free. So if anyone wants a one-on-one strategy session with me, happy to offer that. There's also a range of other things that we've got in a goodie bag. I think that Ash has kindly offered. So there you go. You can select the stuff that you think that you would like. We have a free calendar template which you can take and run with. So if you want that, select that. If ContentCal looks good and you want to kind of keep hold of a 20% discount code, you're welcome to have that. Free trial of ContentCal, which you're welcome to get to test it out. Also the slides as well. So I'll send the slides over to you personally. One thing that isn't on here as well, which is if you do this is more just a non-ContentCal specific thing, but if you do want any kind of help and personal inspiration when it comes to content strategy, just drop me an email and I'm always happy to help about this stuff. And connect with me on LinkedIn if some of the stuff I've said has been vaguely interesting. I talk about this stuff all the time. Blimey, there we go. Questions?
And breathe. Awesome, Andy. That was so good. It's such a good session. That literally the chat was just going on the whole way through saying such a good presentation, such a good presentation. I think people love the tools you shared there. So I added to that poll the slides because, like you say, there wasn't a huge amount of time to cover all that, and people were asking, oh, what was the first tool or what was the first step? So anyone that clicks the slides, I'll make sure Andy sends them over so you can review what they are. The poll is going to be running for this. Andy, just before you do, can you unshare your screen so we can see both of our faces, please? Thank you very much. That's kind of you. Right, so let's dive straight into question and answers. I had the first question that came up was about repurposing content, Andy, and how long you'd leave it to repurpose an old piece of content without it looking repetitive. Have you got any advice and guidance on that?
Love repurposing. I typically run with one piece of content and repurpose it as many times as possible. So there's so many different formats you can play with. You can play with stories, you can play with different platforms, blogs, podcasts, webinars, whatever. I would, if you've got a really strong content theme, what we typically do at ContentCal will actually work to what we call a cornerstone piece of content, some real like big meaty topic, which might be a research piece, and we'll run with that throughout the whole course of a month, to be honest. So really it's the limit. The only limit is your imagination. There's the different formats that you can play with a bit of content. If you think a topic is working well, then it's just about how you can mix it up to keep it fresh through different formats and applications of those, I would say.
So when you repurpose your content, do you avoid just kind of doing that kind of copy and paste, same piece of content next week? That's no good.
Yeah, so there's a difference between duplicating and repurposing. Duplicating, I'm not an advocate of. Sometimes it's good to, I definitely put the same content in multiple channels, right? So if I was promoting something like this webinar, I would put the same content in multiple channels. to be honest, because the chances of the same person seeing it across multiple channels is very slim. So that's where I do duplicate. But would I put the same thing out again and again? Exactly. No, I would mix it up, not just copy, but creative, but also format wise.
Brilliant. Okay. The next few questions that came in were product related. So can we whiz through them really quickly, just in case anyone's wondering about it? So
fine.
ContentCal integrating. Does it integrate with LinkedIn?
Yes.
Okay. Would you compare it to, somebody's asked, is it a social media posting tool like Buffer?
It is. It's like Buffer, but with the kind of strategy and planning bits. So we used to use Buffer, but we found it limiting because we'd build our content plans on spreadsheets. So basically take spreadsheets or a project management tool like Trello, smash it together with Buffer, you get ContentCal.
And the tools that you used in your presentation there, how many of them integrate directly with ContentCal, or are they things that you use separately and you take the information yourself and plow it into your strategy?
It's more about using them separately, taking the findings and then implementing as I had. So there isn't too much value in a technical integration because you need your own view to go through and interpret that data a bit.
Understood. Right, so that's product stuff out of the way. If anyone wants product stuff, sign up to the free trial in the poll. We'll get that sorted for you. How would you advise content not getting lost with competitors when using popular keywords and topics?
Oh, brilliant. The simple answer to that is I'll take your mind back to that second tool I mentioned, which is called Awario, which is it will show you where your competitors are really strong, but also show on the channels where your competitors aren't very good. So a perfect one, I'll mention one of our competitors because they're massive, Hootsuite. Everyone will have known them. So Hootsuite are massive on Twitter. They have absolutely killed it. We don't bother with Twitter as a result. But they do nothing on Instagram and especially YouTube. So YouTube has actually been a really good channel for us. So my mantra is when competitors zig, we should zag. So, and it's kind of like, and something like Awario is really good to see where competitors are strong.
That's so good. I need to quote that. When you can write up on your chalkboard behind you. Have it as a when competitors zig, we zag. Love it. Right. Cool. So look, that is about all we've got time for. That's brought us nicely to the end of the presentation. So again, I'm just going to mirror what literally probably 50, 60, 70, 100 people have said in the chat. Thank you so much, Andy. Brilliant presentation. Thanks for taking the time to talk us through that one. For visitors, obviously, thank you for joining. Thanks for your support. We couldn't do it without you. So thanks for taking the time to watch. Hi, everyone. Thanks for watching another recording from Marketing Showcase Online. I hope you enjoyed it. Just to let you know, we've got all of the recordings uploaded to our brand new YouTube channel, so go over there and check it out if you want some more great content. We run these events once every month, free of charge, so head over to our website to grab tickets for next month's event. I look forward to seeing you there.